All right, good evening. I'd like to call to order. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, I'd like to call to order the January 22nd Committee of the Whole meeting. Ms. Boak, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Spatafor?
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein?
Here.
Councilmember Carter?
Here.
Councilmember Kelly Van Oglu?
Present.
Councilmember Brown?
Present.
Councilmember Cost?
Here.
Councilmember Garza?
Here.
Councilmember Jackson?
Present.
8 members present.
All right, thank you. With that, we have the minutes of the January 8th meeting.
Sure, I would move the meeting minutes from January 8th as presented.
Okay, we have a motion in place. Any questions or concerns? All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimous. Okay, so we are to public comment on agenda items. If there's anybody out there in the public that would like to address council, please come down to the podium, state your name for the record, and you will have up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your service. I'm Norma Bauer, and I am wearing a Nation Outside t-shirt because I'm a big fan and a member. And I appreciate what the returning citizens members of that group already are doing. They've already transitioned to a law-abiding lifestyle, and now they do peer coaching and for people who are just newly released from prison and returning to the community. And they also encourage citizens, activists like me, who advocate with landlords for fair chance housing. Nevertheless, I speak only for myself here. I don't represent anybody. So I was shocked when I learned what the internal auditor is going to tell you about how non-compliant the city is in its budget. Thank you for hiring that internal auditor, and everybody's going to learn about that tonight, so thank you for your time.
Do we have any more public comment? Any more public comment? All right, seeing none, we are on to presentations. So we have a Board of Water and Light annual audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. We have Heather Shawa and General Manager Dick Peffley. Well, good evening. I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Thanks for taking time to present to council. I will let you get through your audit presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. As required by charter, the board is here to present its annual audit. It is a clean audit, as has been in the past. Heather Shaw, BWL CFO, has some talking points, about 5 minutes worth, so I'll defer to her and then be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, council members, and thank you for having us. I'm happy to report that we have had another successful audit for our fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. We did receive unmodified or clean opinions for all 4 of our statements. So we do have a BWL whole audited statement, and then our 3 pension plans also received their own audited statement. So just a few highlights that I have, and then again, happy to answer any questions. So again, a good year with positive financial results. I'm going to focus on our income statement, which is page 9 of our BWL all statements, if you have those. So moving to net income, you will see that our net income for the fiscal year was $16 million, which was up about $4.5 million from the prior year. This was driven primarily by increased revenues, but also positive investment earnings. We did see significant increases in our fuel cost and purchase power cost over the year. However, they were more than offset by our increases in our revenue. And I just want to speak about our fuel cost. The increase we received was much less than our actual cost, however, due to our hedging program. So we have an energy risk management program, which is for our fuel hedging. We look out 5 years in advance, and when the prices are low, we're able to procure a certain amount each year to keep our costs low, and therefore our rates down for our ratepayers. Our bond coverage was met for the year, and no material weaknesses were reported for the audit. Regarding our 3 retirement plans, all plans had positive investment returns and finished the year with strong balances. Our defined contribution plan ended the year with $191 million of participant plan assets. Our defined benefit plan, which is a frozen plan, has 269 members and funded status of 111%. So we're still fully funded on our DB plan, and also moving on to our VIBA trust post-retirement plan benefits, 146% funded status, and so strong financials there.
Stands on its own 2 feet.
Definitely stands on its own, yes. That concludes my prepared talking points and updates. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, I appreciate you being here. Those are pretty impressive funded statuses. So you don't typically hear that. So that's great.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments or questions? All right, Councilman Spaff.
Just thank you for that. Good audit. Nice to be not qualified. Your investment income, I saw a $5 million loss in 2022 and a $3 million gain in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Did you change anything, or was it? I mean, everyone's interest is up. Is that what's happening? Or
It was pretty much market driven.
market.
So,
Okay.
yep.
And my second question is, would you mind running our retirement system? No? Okay. All right. I'm good.
Thank you, Council. Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. The question is, does the audit take into account the financial position to comply with the new state law of clean energy requirements?
This was concluding our fiscal year, June 2023. And are you talking about the one that was just signed recently?
My climate initiative,
Oh,
that'll
right.
be going forward.
Yeah, that would be going forward. So, and when we update our strategic plan, our next strategic plan update will feed into the next budget cycle as well.
Well, shouldn't it still be pretty much the same, since the state law plan is the same as your goals, which has been in effect longer than that?
The audit doesn't specifically audit our carbon neutrality goals. It audits our financial transactions and performance. So,
Correct.
yeah. Yep.
So does it take into account the known expenses to comply with the goals and the state law?
Yep. Any expenses that were for our clean energy goals definitely were presented in the financial statements.
I guess just because I didn't see it, I mean, it's just a longer document. Do you know where that is on there?
It'd be in our O&M expenses and also our capital plan. So most of our clean energy projects fall under our capital plan. And we'll be bringing our next budget and forecast, our capital plan specifically to the council. It's due to go to our Board of Commissioners in May, and then we're usually invited back to present that to you. So that would be a time we could go into that.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any further questions from council? All right, seeing none, thank you for being here.
Mhm.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have Manna Christerson audit presentation. I believe Tyler Baxter and Bill Tucker, if you'd like to come down to the well. Baker, I'm sorry. Tyler Baker. Well, thank you for being here. I'll let you guys get started going through your audit presentation, and then you're going to highlight 1 and 2, and then we will open it up to our internal auditor.
Perfect. Sorry. That sounds good. Thank you for having us tonight. Bill Tucker from Maynard Costerison. With me tonight, I do have Tyler Baker. Tyler was our senior manager that was involved in the audit through the entire audit process. So want to thank you for having us tonight, Council. We're here tonight to present to you the audited financial statements from June 30th, 2023. So I'll start just by kind of walking through the information that was handed out to you in your packets, and then we did have an audit presentation that we handed out to you today as well. So I do have the large bound audited financial statements. Again, this was to you in your packets. Within this document, you'd find all the necessary financial statements and note disclosures to be in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Also within that document, you'd find the independent auditor's report, which provides our opinion on those financial statements as well. So that is all in that large bound report for you. We did take pages out of that financial statement and create a audit presentation outline for you tonight. So we'll be going through our presentation page by page through this document with you. So for everybody who wanted to follow along with this, that will be the easiest way to kind of walk through the documentation. So the first page that we're going to turn to in our presentation outline is the Certificate of Achievement of Excellence in Financial Reporting that the city received from the Government Finance Officers Association for June 30th, 2022. So that is included in your June 30th, 2023 financial report is that certificate. That is an annual certification or certificate that you received. We do go through, that is submitted to the GFOA again this year, and looking to get that certificate for 2023's financial statement presentation as well. The next page that I'm turning to is an overview of the independent auditor's reports. As I mentioned, the independent auditor's reports is in that large bound financial statements for you. That is on pages 11 through 13 of the bound financial statements. The purpose of an audit is to provide an opinion as to the fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. It's not to detect fraud, and it's not to give you an opinion on your internal controls. Within the independent auditor's reports, we're providing our opinion on your financial statements. We're actually giving our opinion on the 10 opinion units of the city. Those 10 opinion units are the governmental activities, the business type activities, the aggregate discretely presented component units, each major fund, in which there are 6 major funds in the current year, the general fund, the state and federal grants fund, the Sierra Mishta Grant Fund, the Public Safety Capital Project Fund, the Sewage Disposal System Fund, the Municipal Parking Fund, and then the last opinion unit is the aggregate remaining fund information. We are providing unmodified or clean opinions on all 10 of those opinion units, and an unmodified clean opinion is the best opinion you can receive on your financial statements, meaning that everything is presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. All right, moving on to the next page. So the next page that we're turning to is pages 28 and 29 of your financial statements. Pages 28 and 29 is your statement of net position. The statement of net position is a snapshot of your assets, deferred outflows of resources, liabilities, deferred inflows of resources, and net position at June 30th, 2023. We have highlighted a couple numbers on this page for you, and we also wanted to kind of discuss, again, including with the city's financial statements, we are also including those discretely presented component units. So as you see that far right column for component units, those component units are included with the city's financial statement audit. So I did want to point that out to council as well as we went through our presentation. So we have highlighted a couple numbers on this page for you related to your net pension liability. You see a total there of just over $402 million, and your net other post-employment benefits liability at $232 million. I've highlighted those on this page for you because we do have a couple additional pages that we wanted to look at each of those plans and the funding percentages for each of those pension and OPEB plans on the next pages. So the next 2 pages relate to the 2 pension plans of the city. So the first pension plan that we are going to cover is the employees' retirement system. And if we're looking at this page, which is page number 119, we're going to look at that far left column for 2023. And we do see the employee retirement system has a net pension liability of just over $164 million. And that is currently funded at a little bit over 47% funded. That is a little bit of a dip compared to the previous year, and quite a bit of a change from 2 years ago. So we'll see similar things as we kind of go through this presentation, and specifically on these pension and OPEB plans, and kind of went to the question from Councilmember Spedford earlier related to, looking at 2021, we had good investment returns. 2022, we saw that significant decrease in those investment returns in 2022, and then kind of coming back in 2023, right? So not back to where we want, but we are seeing some of that activity come back. So if we flip the page to the next pension plan, this is your police and fire retirement system. Again, looking at that far left column for 2023, net pension liability for that plan of just over $238 million. Again, that is at 54.59% funded. Again, a little bit of drop from 2022. Okay. The next 2 pages that we have for you relate to your other post-employment benefits plans. Again, the first one relates to those employee retirement system. Far left column, 2023. That plan is at a little bit over 75 million of a net OPEB liability. That percentage actually increased there from 2022 to 2023. So we went from 44% funded up to 52% in the current year. And then we see similar results on the next page for the police and retirement system as well. So we do see that percentage going up from 20% up to 26%, and a little bit of a decrease in that net OPEB liability down to $156 million in the current year. All right. Moving on to the next couple pages that we have in the presentation for you. The next page is page 33 of the financial statements. Page 33 is your governmental funds balance sheet. So the governmental funds balance sheet is a snapshot of your assets, liabilities, deferred inflows, resources, and fund balance at June 30th, 2023. This statement and the very next statement are presented on the modified accrual basis of accounting. So that is the basis of accounting that you're adopting your budgets at, is that modified accrual presentation, and you see those similar funds as we were talking about earlier. You see your general fund at the top, state and federal grants, CIRA, and then the public safety capital project funds, as those are the major funds for the governmental funds in 2023. On this page and the next page, we do like to focus on your general fund, as it is the main operating fund of the city. In particular, on this page, we like to look at your total fund balance, which is the second number up from the bottom in the far left column, of just over $29.6 million at June 30th, 2023. So total fund balance of just over $29.6 million, with portions of that considered to be non-spendable or restricted, leaving you with about $20.9 million, third number up from the bottom, that is available for expenditures in future periods. That dollar amount, $20.9 million, represents approximately 13.9% of your annual operating expenses. And that is down slightly from last year. Last year is about 14.9%, sitting in there is unrestricted fund balance, or unassigned fund balance.
Excuse me, sir. I'm
Yeah.
not seeing it third from the bottom. Is it the third from the top, fourth from the top? Let's see, federal.
Third from the bottom in the far left column. Are you page 33? I'm sorry.
35.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, page 33.
Okay, 20.9, I see it now.
Yep, 20.9 million. So about 13.9% of annual operating expenses sitting there in that number. Okay. Moving on from there to the very next page, page 35. Page 35 is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances for the year ended June 30, 2023. Again, focusing in that far left column for your general fund. Total revenues in the current year of just over just under 163 million. That was an increase in the current year of about 17 million, or 11% in your revenues compared to 2022. So a couple areas that we saw fluctuations within your revenues. First, your income tax revenues were up about $4 million compared to the previous year. So that did get you over kind of those pre-pandemic numbers. I was looking at it back to 2019, where your income taxes were at. They were about $37 million. Last year, June 30th, 2022, they were about $37 million. So we're now, above that at that $41 million in the current year. The other area that we saw a fluctuation within your revenues was your intergovernmental revenues. Those were up about $11 million compared to the previous year, and a lot of that was related to your ARPA grants. So you recognize about $11 million in ARPA grants in 2023. So those were for one-time needs of the city. Moving down the page to your total expenditures, you saw total expenditures of just over $150 million. That was up about $4 million, or about 2.8% compared to the previous year. So we did see some fluctuations in different areas. In particular, public safety was up about $2 million. Public works was up about $800,000. And recreation and cultural were up about $800,000. A lot of that was right in that same range of about 2 to 3%. So a lot of that was just cost of living increases within those areas. Results for the year, third number up from the bottom, you added to your fund balance in the dollar amount of $6,209,695. The only other thing that I wanted to highlight on this page was the fourth column in your Public Safety Capital Project Fund. So that Public Safety Capital Project Fund is a new major fund for the city in the current year. So again, we kind of go through calculations to determine what major and non-major funds are for the city. That is considered to be a major fund in the current year that was related to the $175 million of capital improvement bonds for the public safety. All right, from there I'm going to turn over to Tyler to go over some of our graphs and charts and some of our internal control findings.
So the first chart I have for you is a 5-year trend, specifically on the general fund. So what this shows are the 3 columns. The left column being total revenues and other financing sources. You have that burgundy column being total expenditures and financial uses, and then the yellow column being the total fund balance specifically for the general fund. And you can see the trend over the 3 years, 3 of those years being 2020, 2021, and 2023, with having revenues exceeding the expenditures for 3 out of those 5 years. The next 2 pie charts I have for you are also the general fund. The first one being the composition of where the general fund revenues come from. Overall, the 2 largest being property taxes, being the top rightmost, that darker blue, being 28% in the current year, 31% of your total as compared to the prior year. And then that bottom right being the income taxes, making up approximately 25%. So between the 2 of them, over half of that general fund revenue coming from taxes. The next page, we have the composition of expenditures and other financing uses specifically for the general fund. You have that, the red section being public safety, making up approximately 58% of the total general fund expenditures, and that would include police and fire. In the prior year, public safety was 61% as a total for the general fund. So the next 3 pages we have for you is our internal control letter. So here, as we go through the process, if there are items as we gain an understanding of internal controls that we feel that we should bring forward to governance, this is the letter in which those would be documented in. You'll notice that these are the same three findings that we had last year. If you kind of think 2 years ago, there were seven findings approximately. Last year there was 3, and then there are the same 3 this year that I will touch base on kind of the, I'm not going to read all of it, but we'll go into the detail on big level why they're there. So the first one at the bottom of the first page, you'll see 2023-001 material journal entries. Throughout the course of the audit, there were adjustments recommended or noted by the auditor and then subsequently corrected by the city, as well as multiple versions of the trial balance that we obtained throughout the audit process. So a lot of that is timing of final numbers as well as journal entries noted throughout the audit process. Again, similar to last year. The next page towards the bottom, you can see highlighted payroll process 2023-002. Again, similar to last year. In regards to this one, under the condition, as you read, there's processes in place in regards to payroll. This finding is noted due to timing of that review, in which due to manual process and due to timing of the payroll, the review is done subsequent to year end. Through the process of our testing that we performed when we gained an understanding, nothing came of note, but that timing was performed subsequent. Best practice obviously would be that review was done prior to the payroll being dispersed. So that is why that finding is in there. Again, similar to the prior year. The third and final finding that we have for you is on page 3, highlighted there in the middle, 2023-003, as a finding of non-compliance would be unfavorable budget variances. Through the audit, we noted that there were expenditures that exceeded the appropriate in various areas within the general fund and special revenue funds. In 2 pages, page 4 being just the end of that letter. You'll notice we included pages 114, 15, and 16 in regards to the budget actual for the general fund, and highlighted an example. As Bill mentioned earlier, through the GFOA certification, they provide comments if they notice anything or they have any recommendations. One of those recommendations this year that we received was that the final budget was not shown in the financial statements exactly how the board approved it, from the standpoint that the board approves the budget at the activity level. And as you notice, the budget actual is a little bit longer than previous years, and that's because in previous years it would say city clerk, just in total, for example. And as we have highlighted here, we showed the finance example where it would show finance. The adopted budget is on personnel and operating, and the GFOA wanted to see that broken down between the personnel and operating. And so within that non-compliance, there are additional items of overexpended that maybe in previous years wouldn't have shown up because of that slight change in reporting. So for total finance, you see the personnel actual was just under 4.5 with a final approval budget of 4.8, so underspent of that $378,000 as an example. The line under that being operated, actual was $306,000 overexpended. In previous years, that total finance would have shown up as underexpended of $72,000, not being shown as a non-compliance finding, but because of that GFOA recommendation, the financial statements for the budget were presented on the more detailed level, causing that operating for finance to be shown as a non-compliance finding because that one line was over, whereas the total wasn't over. So that's a slight change from the previous year. And as you note in the notes, there's additional findings in regards to that. Any questions? That concludes our presentation.
Yes, I
Yep.
got one for Peter, and then I was going to open it up to our internal auditor, but go ahead, Peter.
Sorry, folks. Thanks for being here. I have a question about one of the unfavorable, the budget variances. You kind of explained it a little bit. I recall Carol and I sat here last year and harped on 2023, well, it would probably been 2022-03 at the time, about why this was happening. And I believe finance staff said we weren't going to sit here and have this variance finding again. So I'm just curious, you kind of fleshed out why we have it again, and that was we're now looking at a more detailed analysis of the numbers. So while we're fixing it, it's being shown more clearly that there's a variance again. So that kind of explains it. I'd like to hear, and maybe you're not the folks to answer the question, but maybe over here, what steps we're taking to further avoid having this in the future. It sounds like, seeing it is disappointing, but it sounds like there might be some rationale for why we're seeing it again, where we might not have. You didn't overspend the budget, but you did when it was in the wrong line. So can we hear a little bit about that, please?
So one of the things that, we met with the auditors, we also met with our budget individual, Jake Bauer, and the team here to talk about what do we need to do moving forward. So there is a plan in place that we will document and come before the body here for your approval to make the change that complies with the generally accepted accounting principles and things of that nature. The change in it, it's like we can monitor to make sure departments don't go over budget, but if we just put it, finance gets, 500,000, then it's not personnel and operation, it's just 500,000 to finance. That's how GAP, I believe, GFOA would like to see it. And then other plans that we don't budget completely all the way for our grant monies that we get. We get them, we put them in, you all approve them, but those need to be budgeted and seen. So some of the documents in the report, you will see that also where there's no lines of dollars in there. We are going to start putting that in the general ledger.
Thank you. And excuse me, Mr. President, I know you're looking at more regular budget amendments to us to avoid that, which I think one's already come through for this year. And then how is the implementation of the new finance software going?
So we won't see it until the end of this year. It's sort of like we're going to the cloud version for those systems we currently have in place. The next step is the general ledger, which will start in July. Payroll won't come on board until September. So we're working with the team, the implementation team over at IT and with BSNA on making sure that this year we're going to get our updates to our general ledger system.
So we should be fully into the new system by the close of fiscal 25?
We should be fully into the system this year. You said yes, I'm sorry, yes. Yes.
Got it.
Gotcha,
Hard to
yes.
believe we're still already talking about fiscal year 25.
I know, yes.
All right, I think that addresses my concern. I just recall we talked about this last year, and there's layers to that onion, but appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions and comments, Councilman Spatafor. I want to open it up to our internal auditor so that maybe if there is any additional questions, she may be answering it prior to us getting into those questions. So, Emily?
Yeah, thank you for, is this working? Yeah, perfect. Thank you guys for being here, and thanks for all your work on this, and thanks to Desiree and Cynthia and the whole finance team on this audit. I know it's a ton of work, so thank you for all of that. And Peter mentioned a couple of my questions, which is great, but how is pension liability assigned to governmental activities and business type activities in the statement of net position? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I was going to flip to it, but I don't think I'll probably have to. So, so in regards to, obviously one being police and fire, and so in regards to that, that would all be allocated for that expense, would all be allocated towards the public safety expense line item, and then obviously ERS is made up of a multitude of different departments and stuff like that. So that gets allocated as a percentage into those different functions. General government, public works, etc. So that's the allocation in regards to how that expense gets allocated. The similar idea between the governmental and business type that breakdown is allocated based on employees. So it's based on FTE.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep.
And then most of my other questions had to do about the third findings on budget variances, but you did a great job of explaining the differences, and look forward to seeing the plan from finance about how we're going to move forward to not have that finding again next year. So again, thank you for all your work.
You all set, Emily?
Yeah, I think that's that. Yeah, you did a great job. You answered all my questions before I could even ask them. So, thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from council? All right, Councilman Jackson.
I may have missed it. Come back.
All right, do we have any other questions? Councilman Brown.
Thank you, President Garza. Thank you all for being here. You noted at the beginning of your presentation that we had 3 of the same findings as last year, but of course there are some different things going on as you've defined. So I guess my overarching question would be, were any of the recommendations from last year to this year implemented overall, even though we still have the same findings, or kind of what would be the temperature from your purview from last year to this year, even though we have the same findings?
I think an overarching yes, that there were improvements in the areas, obviously not to the level of being able to remove the finding. But overall, in regards to the payroll process, I know management has been in touch with the different departments in regards to how can they move that approval process prior to the disbursement, a lot of which being manual. As you guys mentioned, some of the accounting, the new software implementation can automate some of that process, which hopefully it will do, as well as ways to obviously rectify that finding prior to the software implementation. And then in regards to the journal entries and timing of trial balances, overall we got the final trial balance as well as adjustments sooner than in previous years, but still not to the level where we feel like we can remove that finding from the financial statements in total.
Okay, thank you. To be a little more clear, just so I have a better understanding, if it was 1 to 10, we were at 7, now we're at 5, could you clarify that way?
I guess
Number of comments. Like
you're saying number of comments, or
For example, you're saying that we failed these 3 areas, so maybe we failed 90%, this time we were 70% closer, kind of just to understand a little bit better of where we're at from last year to this year. Because if we failed in these 3 areas, you're saying we were closer this year. I'm just trying to really understand what that means.
So I don't think I can necessarily put from 8 to 7 or a percent on it. Overall, though, let's say whereas we might have got a final trial balance maybe a week sooner than we otherwise would have, or overall less material journal entries. I don't have the number overall for you, but I know in talking with management that there's been meetings and kind of discussions on how they can continue to decrease the findings from 7 to 3, hopefully continuing to work to kind of get those down. But from a percentage, I can't necessarily give. There's a qualitative as well as a quantitative part to those findings as well, which makes it difficult.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, comments from council? Okay, Councilwoman Palavano.
Thank you so much. So again, just talking about the number of findings, that it sounds about 24 months ago there were 7 findings in total, then you went down to 3 last year, and we still have 3 remaining. But having come from the process improvement world, my assumption is that as you were working through these findings and working to rectify and correct them, that your team was working diligently on those, and I appreciate that it's a very heavy lift when you're talking about changing your processes into a new process that includes training staff, that includes becoming familiar with a new software system and so on. So I think that having gone down to 3 last year is significant, and I look forward to hearing how you're going to continue to implement those changes so that hopefully we are down to 3 the next time we review one of these reports and audits. But I do appreciate the work that your staff has done, because that is a very heavy lift, and to accomplish that over the period of 24 months, it sounds about on par with this type of work and this type of improvement on your end. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any further comments, or? No, Brian said he's all set. Okay, well, I appreciate you guys being here. I feel a lot better knowing that the explanations of those 3 findings. Hopefully next year we'll be down to 0. Miss Kirkland, sorry.
That's okay.
Miss Desiree. Miss Kirkland, are you guys fully staffed now in the finance department? You still working on trying to get some employees there?
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys working? You guys are getting a lot of overtime still, aren't you? Is that because of the?
We only did the overtime really during the audit season, and now W-2s and 1099s. But after that, we shouldn't have any more overtime until the audit turns back around. We are looking to hire at least 1 more accountant that would help us with the implementation, and also making sure that our 72 bank accounts are reconciled timely, and other accounting things are done in a timely manner.
Okay. Now, do you know if Human Resources have that posting up?
No, we have not put the posting up. We are actually working with other departments, because one of the things that we've seen when it comes to the audit, we get a lot of things at the last minute from the departments. This is a citywide audit. It's not a finance department audit, and seeing that it's citywide, we rely on some of our other departments to give us information timely. That doesn't always happen, which is why we end up working a lot of overtime. So we're working with a couple of departments to say we need a financial person that is on your budget and works in your area, but that's an accountant that would help us to make sure that accounts receivable or accounts payable or grants information is to us in a timely manner.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone being here tonight. Oh, looks like we have another question from Councilman Brown.
Sorry, thank you, President Garza. With that being said, Ms. Desiree, are you setting, excuse me, a certain deadline, and then it's not being met?
We have not always set deadlines. We are going to start doing that with our couple of departments that we have to work really closely with. So yes, we are going to start setting deadlines for them to get information to us.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, well, thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys. All right, moving forward, we are to discussion action items. So first on the list is D, Resolution D, Elected Officers Compensation Commission, set first meeting for 2024. So with that, find my notes here. So the first meeting of the Elected Officers Compensation Commission is even number years. The first meeting to be prior to the February 21st, 2024, and the commission to meet on no more than 15 session days. The commission is also to make a determination within 45 days after its first meeting. The first meeting set for Tuesday, February 6, 2024 at noon in the City Hall Council Conference Room on the 10th floor here in City Hall. And the city clerk shall notify the members of the commission in writing concerning the designated date, time, and place of the first meeting at least 7 calendar days in advance thereof. With that, Vice President Hussein.
Sure, I would move the resolution. This deals with the Elected Officers Compensation Commission. Again, this sets the first meeting for 2024. That would be for Tuesday, February 6th, 12 noon, and that would be in the conference room on the 10th floor.
All right, thank you, Councilman Hussein. We have a motion in place. Any questions or concerns? Oh.
I guess I just have a quick question for Mr. Lawrence. Do we know are there vacancies on this commission at this point?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I can take a look.
You turn your speaker. All right, Councilman Jackson.
Just a comment that this is a process that's in the charter, and there's a commission of our volunteer citizens who put their time and effort trying to determine proper compensation for all the elected officials. And I generally always support their recommendation for whatever they come out with because they try to do a good job. So this is just part of the process.
All right, thank you. We got Councilman Spatterford and then Councilman Vice President Hussein.
Mr. Vice President, according to the website, it's one vacancy for an at-large position that expired in October.
Thank you. Council.
And I only asked the question because we have had in years past, we've had issues with attendance and things like that,
Right.
which we certainly understand. These are during the work hours,
Right.
but with only one vacancy, that's actually better than we've seen.
And I'm happy to confirm that, and I'll follow up with you in the morning.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and I think I would just follow up with Mr. Jackson. If the way that the ordinances, or the ordinance, is married to the charter, these folks actually make a decision. So it's not a recommendation. What we would do if we wanted to turn down whatever decision that was, we would have to actually, through resolution, we'd have to turn that down, and we'd have to have a supermajority vote of the council. And we always, I think, appreciate the work that they put in. As somebody that has rejected it in the past, it's because at times, and there've been concerns up here, as an example, that what we were looking at for all 10 elected officers within the city of Lansing far exceeded what our bargaining groups were receiving. Even cumulatively, if you were to add up, however many years we went without a raise, still it was outpacing with those folks that do the great work right on behalf of the city and the citizens of this city that they were receiving. And so typically that was the reason. But I look forward to this particular group. I think they are very deliberate in what they do, very intentional in what they do. I would say as one part of leadership, I would hope that we would have an opportunity to maybe bring them in before the decision comes down. We've actually done that in years past. So we can kind of understand their process a little bit better, their thinking a little bit better, as opposed to just, kind of reading about whatever decision they came to. Thank you.
Any more questions or concerns? All right, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thank you, Vice President. Moving down, discussion action item E, resolution to amend the resolution 2023-270 City Council meeting schedule. So I am proposing to move the March 25th meeting to Monday, March 18th, and the reason being is because we didn't know what leadership was going to look like until after January 3rd, and after having our first leadership meeting, Vice President Hussein and myself both will not be in town on March 25th, so we propose to move it back a week, seeing how we wouldn't necessarily be able to run a meeting without having the President or Vice President here. So that is the reason for the change, and if there's any questions or concerns. All right, Vice President Hussein.
Sure. I would move the resolution to amend Resolution 2023-270 City Council meeting schedule.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. Any questions or concerns? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thanks, you guys. All right, moving down, we have Resolution F, Budget Amendment Fiscal Year 2023 to 2024, second quarter. Jake, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. You want to come down and go over your budget amendment fiscal year 2023-2024. Thanks for being here, Jake.
Thank you, President Garza.
You want to go over your presentation? We'll open it up for questions.
Yes, let me pull it out of my folder here, which it is giving me a little challenge. There we go. So, you have before you a budget adjustment, described as our second quarter adjustment, being major adjustments through the fiscal year. Overall, we are attempting to bring budget adjustments to you on a more frequent basis rather than seeing possibly like a beginning of year, adopting the budget, end of year, amending the budget, and possibly one mid-year. We're taking a more fluid approach so that you can have a better understanding and control of the budget and its various changes. This also, as a philosophy, helps us be more proactive throughout the course of the fiscal year if things come up where, it'd be really helpful to have $10,000 or $30,000 in this spot instead of this spot, we don't have to be afraid of sitting here in the hot seat and facing you, but we'll have a more frequent communication that will hopefully lead to better relations as we go forward and be our best selves. As we look into this, the whereas clauses give you all the narrative information. We are accepting $1 million from a state capital city services grant, which was appropriated in the state's budget for this year, the supplemental. This is to reimburse the city for services that we have long provided for various capital activities. We are the capital city of Michigan, and that comes with additional expenses, whether it's of our special events, our police department, protection, fire activities, planning department. We are the capital city. It's a badge that we wear with pride, and this is recognizing that in our budget. We have operations out of the city's clerk's office. We have a reorganization within our neighborhood and citizen engagement budget, recognizing changes within the Financial Empowerment Center. This will amount to supporting 2 new city employees on an ongoing basis going forward. We have adjustments within the police, fire, and public service, taking additional dollars that were granted for personnel budgets and applying it on the recruitment side, that we can put out advertisements, put out materials to get people in the positions that we have and further tackle our vacancy rates. And so you will be seeing an updated quarterly report on budget as well as vacancies coming to you towards the end of this month for consideration at a future date. So we look forward to discussing that as well. There is then funding for the City Charter Commission, which was adopted by a popular vote. We have recognition of various additional state grants. There are 2 related to the Morris Park pool restoration. This is something that has been a discussion point within the community for a very long period of time. We have 1.5 million going towards compliance with baseball requirements as to the stadium, as we are now, what is our league?
We're a double A team now?
We are a double A team.
Single A team.
High A. We are a high A team, and we have certain requirements that we need to keep our stadium up to date, and graciously the state has authorized funding for us so that we don't have to bear it off of our own taxpayer dollars. And so overall this really amounts to a tremendous investment that we really we want to thank our legislators for offering this money to us. And then if you have any other questions or do you have any comments on any of these, but let us know if you have any thoughts or questions about the subject matter.
Okay, thank you, Jake. Open it up for questions. Councilman Cost.
Thank you, President Garza. Jake, on the money that I see here from personnel to operating for public service, fire, and police, was that the $300,000 that we set aside in the last budget for sign-on bonuses for staff?
That is correct.
So, I just want to clarify, are we not doing that and we're going to use this for recruitment?
We thought that that would be the effective use of the dollars based on the input that we received from departments on how they thought it'd be effective.
Okay, because I think the intention when we approved that $300,000 was to use that for sign-on bonuses. It's a little disappointing that 7 months later we're still sitting on that money, never used it, and now we want to use it in a different way.
No, that's precisely why we are bringing this budget resolution to you, so that you can make that determination and say that you want these dollars to be used in the way that we are suggesting now.
Yeah, one second, Councilman Spatafor. So that money that we incurred for the interest for ARPA funds, is it still accruing interest? Are we?
Yes. So those are Yeah, so the...
So where are we at now? It was roughly 300,000.
I would have to, I wasn't prepared with those dollars off the top of my head, but we can certainly tell you what is the latest interest that has been accrued to date.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that, because when I mentioned making that amendment to the budget last year, we talked about doing it, and then we were told that that would have to be a collective bargaining issue. So was the unions involved in this discussion of how we're going to distribute this money?
Yes, well, when it comes to recognizing ARPA interest, it is a not necessarily unique but infrequent rule that we are allowed to recognize it as general fund interest. It is not required to be returned back to the state, and so it is funding that we can then appropriate. I'd have to check with our finance department as to whether we're recognizing it as interest on an annual basis or whether it's holding up in an account pending reallocation, but I can check in on the accounting side of things.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it before we move to appropriate these dollars. Do we have Councilman Smith?
Sure. I think just to thank you, Jake. To dive a little deeper into President Garza's question, I know we've just settled some contracts, whether it's interest or not. Was this sort of a discussion? I know we're not supposed to talk about the bargaining exactly face to face or out here. However, were the unions involved in making the suggestion that these dollars would be better spent on recruitment versus sign-on bonuses?
I would say that this was a department-led consideration. So the department said their challenges are more hiring rather than retaining employees. Of course, it's something that we want to address, staffing and personnel from all directions, but really we need to find the qualified people. And I would like to extend an invitation to all members of our community to take a look at the City of Lansing's website, go to the Human Resources section, go to governmentjobs.com/careers/LansingMI, take a look at the job applications that are available within the City of Lansing. I highly recommend public service, be a part of your community, and we'd like to have you here.
Thanks, Jake.
Follow up from Councilman Gall.
Yep. Thank you, President Garza. Did I hear you say the issue was recruitment?
All right, and that's an area where we want to tackle this with more dollars.
Okay. And I think that was the very purpose of why that money was set aside the way it was. So the unions were not consulted at all. This was just a department decision.
Yeah, so I heard it from departments. I would have to check as to whether they were hearing it from their membership or not. I'm not entirely...
I think the frustration that I have with this is another example where we have asked for something to happen a certain way, and then we see 6-7 months later this money is still sitting there, and now it's a change of plans. It feels a little bit like our opinions collectively as a body don't matter when we see something like this. In fact, I was just talking to President Garza about, you remember where that money went? We haven't seen anything about it, and this is what we see. So it's incredibly frustrating. It feels like a little bit of a slap in the face because we spent a lot of time thinking about how to do these things, what would be best, talking to folks, and then you see this. We're just going to throw this into operating and call it a day. We could have saved a lot of blood, sweat, and tears just by doing that in the first place.
No, I appreciate your concerns. It is our hope that really we can benefit all of our membership by really getting someone along by your side. It's difficult when you have a department with X number of positions that are authorized and you're working with 2 or 3 fewer people. It's a challenging situation. We all understand the way that work gets distributed when there's too few people around. And so really we think that the way to best get these dollars out is to for all of us to really spread the word as much as we can that we are a city that's great to work for and that we would like to have more people work with us. Now, it's your prerogative to disagree with that approach, which is why we have brought this budget adjustment for your consideration, and we hope that you agree with our perspective, but I understand if you disagree.
Yeah, it's a little upsetting. You know, we were pretty clear on how we wanted that money. We had 40% lined up for police, 40% fire, and 20% for public services, and that's how we thought that it was going to get distributed. So I appreciate you being here, Jake, and thanks for your honesty on that. Do we have any further questions or comments from council? All right, seeing none, with that, Vice President Hussein.
Yeah, so as it pertains to the budget, the resolution for the budget amendment, we had, as leadership, we had fielded some concerns from this body, from the public, particularly as it pertained to the money for the pool, the way that the process played out, et cetera. We did get with the administration. They said that they understood that they are still doing some work on their end to get some questions or some answers to some outstanding questions with regard to process. And what it looks like moving forward. We are expecting a substitute, essentially, February 12th. Hopefully you all were aware of this.
Yep.
So in any event, what I am going to do is actually move to table this for tonight. It sounds like we have some other outstanding questions and concerns. This will provide, I think, the requisite time to get answers, to allow for council members respectively to ask those questions of the administration, to try to get some answers. But we will hopefully take a look at this, if approved, obviously, the table piece. Look at this again on February 12th. So, again, with that being said, I move to table.
Okay, we have a motion in place. Are there any questions or concerns on the motion? Peter Smith, Councilman Smith.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm supportive of tabling this completely. We have some questions, but I do want to thank Jake and team. We said this last year. We wanted more budget amendments, so we were kept apprised of how the budget was going. So while we have some work to do on this one, I really do appreciate that you stuck to that. So thank you.
Seeing no further questions. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, just very quickly, no questions. If there are more questions regarding the budget amendment before the next council meeting, I'm sorry, what did you say? Was it the 12th?
February 12th.
12th. I would love to have those in advance so that we can have answers for you before or at that council meeting, so that we can get this get a substitute drafted and get it passed and get moving. So happy to take any questions you have and work through them all.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that,
Thanks.
Mr. Lawrence. We're in communication with the mayor on this, and so we did talk to him, and he agreed on making the resolution amendment. So the budget amendment. So with that being said, if there are any further questions, we will make sure to get it over to you as well. So we're all on the same page moving forward February 12th. Okay, we have a motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right, now we also have the last two resolutions, G and H, grant acceptance. Just want to really touch base with you real quick, because we do have some proposed amendments that are in your package, guys, for the council colleagues here. Just briefly, I just want to say that we are moving to accept this money, but we're going to stick with past practice of accepting the funds and waiting to appropriate the funds. So obviously we appreciate the money coming from the state. We just want to make sure we have a laid out plan from the administration moving forward to where we will see how that money is being spent. Talk to the mayor, he's on board with it, and so we will have amended resolution here before us. And with that, I will move to resolution G, grant acceptance. I'm sorry, I move into Vice President Hussein, resolution G.
Yeah, and just to add a few more pieces, there were some concerns about whether or not this could be a violation of the Uniform Budgeting Act. So we, of course, got with the city attorney's office. We are okay. It passes legal muster. I did get with the administration. They're comfortable with this. Again, to echo what Mr. Garza just said. So with that being said, I would move the item G. This is a resolution of grant acceptance for transformational affordable housing projects.
Okay, we do have a question from city attorney. Can you turn your mic on and pull it close to you, Jim?
I just want to clarify, I know there's been an opinion that has been circulated, okay, and since we met with the council leadership before this meeting. I've had a chance to look more in depth at the opinion that has caused all the issues. And that opinion was written with a City of Detroit charter provision that we don't have here. I've looked at the entire resolutions, and there could be arguments, but I believe both of those are appropriate. And it's in past practice, we've accepted grants and not appropriated at the same time. So I just wanted to get that on the record.
All right.
Because I know others have gotten the opinion. But not only are there citations incorrect in that opinion, but it says that it's a Detroit City charter provision that prevails.
Okay, I appreciate that. Now, Jake, do you want to speak on, I guess we didn't get to speak. Do you want to speak on Resolution G?
Yep, so Resolution G is that the housing or municipal infrastructure?
Housing.
Housing. Yep, it's a thank you, State of Michigan. They have awarded us $40 million in their supplemental budget for transformational housing projects. This will have a tremendous impact in the community. You think about $40 million and you look at our budget, which is $250 million citywide, $150 million general fund, and all of those funds really obligated towards the annual operations of the city. To get this amount of money for this purpose is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I would be shocked to see it again. No, I think if you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer it.
Okay, and thank you, Jake. I appreciate that, and I do appreciate the state sending this funds to us. It's transformational money. I'm excited to see how it's going to be spent, and we just want to let the state know that we appreciate it. We will be accepting the dollars, and we're excited to see how it's appropriated. So,
thank you.
Thank you for that. And we do have a motion on the table. So, are there any questions? Councilman Brown.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I just want to thank council leadership for the work that they put in on this to ensure that it's meeting the need of the people, our community, and of course, this level of transformational investment. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that being said, all those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Now moving to Resolution H, do you want to speak on that one as well, Jake?
Yep. A lot of it is the same statement I made in the first. We would like to thank the state of Michigan, all of our legislators who fought hard to give us this money. It is a tremendous investment in the city of Lansing that will really be seen for a long period of time. We are available to answer any questions you might have, but otherwise, I think this will, as stated, be tremendous towards improving our customer service, public accessibility, efficiencies, utilities. It'll be a great investment for the city of Lansing.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And with that, Vice President Hussein.
Sure, and I know you spoke collectively. If you look at the amended resolution, the language is the same as what we just approved. So with that being said, I would move the resolution for grant acceptance, transformation of municipal infrastructure.
Just for clarity, this is the amended resolution?
Sorry, I would move the amended resolution.
And that's for the first one as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I said that for the first one, but I didn't for the second. So I would move the amended resolution.
Okay, so we have a motion on the amended resolution. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thanks for being here, you guys. And with that, I don't see any, do we have any other business before us? Seeing none, we are adjourned.
Do on the internet and what makes sense to, because if Google cannot